Welcome to V8 Nation, talking all things motorsport with Rick Kelly and Paul Dumbrell.
Hello everybody and welcome to V8 Nation. Rick Kelly and Paul Dumbrell in the studio with myself, Cameron Luke, and what has been a very successful weekend in New Zealand for one of the gentlemen. Not so for Paul Dumbrell, but we'll get to that very shortly. A huge hour ahead. Love your emails, v8nation@crocmedia.com. Don't forget, and a big thank you to everyone already following the boys on Twitter at V8 Nation. Make sure you do get involved. And we're going to start with, we'll start with Rick because he did have a very good weekend. Rick, firstly, congratulations on the great weekend in Hamilton.
Thank you. Yeah, really appreciate it. It was very good for the team. Obviously, we started our team 2 years ago and we hadn't had a win, and you begin to wonder, is it around the corner? Is it going to be a long way away? And I certainly didn't expect it on that weekend. We had to jump into the old chassis we touched on last week after the Grand Prix accident, and we come out and won it. It was very special. We won on the Saturday, and obviously it's a completely different event on the Sunday, so you really don't get too much time to enjoy it. We had about an hour where we were like, yeah, how good is that? And then you obviously have to switch off from that and start focusing on your Sunday's results and plans and so on. So it was a great weekend though. And we got some great images from not only the race win but the double podium with Todd and myself, and the pole position and front row Sunday. So we were pretty stoked. Before
we go too deep into the fact that you drove brilliantly and you got to hang around with some rock stars as well, we won't be letting that go. PD, probably not a great weekend for yourself.
Yeah, I pretty much was just Rick's support over there, just cheering him on and hoping Kelly Racing, win that race. It was a shocking one for us. We started the weekend on Friday actually quite strong, and we had some good speed. But last lap of actually practice on Friday, it started drizzling, and to be a hero, we thought we'd bolt on another set of green tyres and slipped off the track and hit the fence. So that was my first mistake, and go back with my head in my hands to the boys and apologise and help them repair the car. Oh, that's a lie. I didn't actually do too much, but I said sorry. Yeah, so and then the next day qualifying, it was a really tough condition. The Hamilton track, it's such on knife's edge with all the white painted lines. There's not a lot of runoff in a lot of the areas. And the first part of qualifying was quite damp, I guess you could say, and there was a red flag. And in that time, we came to the pits and it started raining again. And unfortunately, common sense should have prevailed. Certainly on my front, there was no way we were going to do a quicker time. But we went back out there, and unfortunately, just made a mistake and hit the fence at about 120 odd kilometres an hour.
Were you on slicks?
No, we weren't on slicks, but we just came in and we sort of went out, and we knew we were going to set the fastest lap because it was nearly dry earlier.
It was wet, yeah.
But, just hit the fence and, sort of did myself a bit of damage, which no doubt Rico will bring up at some point when it's convenient for him.
Now's good. What damage did you do?
Just a bit winded, Rick. Yeah, I was a little bit winded and, I guess, let's not beat around the bush. The family jewels got they got a little bit of a rearrangement, which certainly made me swallow a few big gulps there. But, it's tough. Hit the fence at that speed, 110 or 120 kilometres an hour, whatever it was, nearly head on into a 2-ton concrete barrier. It knocked you around, and the worst thing in this case was I knew it was going to happen from a long way off. I probably knew for 3 or 4 seconds. Cause I locked a wheel, went straight ahead over the roundabout, which was painted, and I picked up speed when I hit the fence. And that's the most scary thing is when you actually know it's about to happen, because I was aware that this was going to be a really big hit, and it was.
Yeah, and to explain that a little bit further, where PD come unstuck, it's a small right-hand kink leading into a reasonably long left-hander, and when you come unstuck around the right-hand kink like PD did, it almost places you head-on into the fence instead of into a runoff area, because the track does kink back around. And as he touched on, where it's actually painted, I think it was a little bit after that, PD, in the New Zealand touring car race, there was a safety car and there was a slow car trying to get around the track, and that section where PD come unstuck was actually blocked, so it forced a car to go up over the painted section, and it's that slippery on the painted section that going extremely slow, this car basically lost control and slammed straight into the safety truck with people standing around. Quite amusing for the people in the grandstand. I think they got a little bit more than they bargained for, but very dangerous, and I think you don't actually realise that until it's wet on the weekend and these accidents happen. So definitely, I think if you're going to park yourself anywhere for the weekend, that was the place.
Yeah, and mate, what
to watch.
Yeah, absolutely, and also to sort of rearrange a car as well. and the other thing, the racing was so crazy on the weekend. That would have to be. I probably sat back and enjoyed one of the only races which I'd sit back and enjoy in the garage. There was that much crazy stuff going on. Whether or not be at the start where it was quite damp, there was people spitting in pit lane. Shane Van Gisbergen, I walked out into pit lane when I saw Shane Van Gisbergen slide through the SBR pits. He hit his car controller, hit the cameraman who was standing about 3 metres in front of the car. That's how fast he came into his pit row. Then I turned right and Michael Caruso had hit his crew. And then I look on the TV and James Courtney, I think, had hit one of his pit crew, or Garth hit one of his pit crew. It was just mayhem and people spinning down pit lane. It was phenomenal.
It's a great point. The pit entry was so slippery. I actually got warned by our guys before my pit stop, just be careful, that's very slippery. And so I think it exercised a little bit of caution when I should have exercised a lot. And I locked up and hit the fence while I was in the lead and nearly took myself out of the race and managed to gather it up and get into pit lane. But after that, I think it was actually Lee Holdsworth spun on pit entry and blocked the whole pit lane off. But to touch on that cameraman getting hit by Shane Van Gisbergen, each cameraman in the garage has actually got, or in the pit lane I should say, has got a minder, someone that holds the scruff of their suit and directs them so that they don't get hit. And it's probably not funny. It's not fair to say it's funny, but the image that's up on the net is the guy actually up on the bonnet of the car with the minder standing next to the car, still got the guy by the scruff of his suit. So I'd imagine those two guys aren't talking too well at the moment, but it was so slippery. I think it provided fantastic racing and viewing, but a little bit dangerous at the same time.
Oh, it was. And obviously, you winning the race, that was a phenomenal effort, and you sort of did it pretty convincingly there as well. You had a good margin there. It would have been a little bit different if I was out there, no doubt.
You were for a short amount of time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. I was watching the rain on the grid. But Todd as well, he's had a tough start to the year and probably tough end to last year as well. He just came out and just had really great speed, was a really gunner there for a little while. I thought you might have even had a 1-2 there for a little while. And then the last lap, it was, Mark Winterbottom, one of my teammates, he was pushing Todd and, for about 3 laps. And then he passed Todd, and then Todd passed him back, and they went side by side with 3 corners to go.
Yeah.
I just turned away and said, this is going to end in disaster. But credit to both of them. They got round, and Todd got the first sort of double podium for Kelly Racing.
Yeah, it was very good. It was great to watch. Obviously, in the car, you do miss a lot of that stuff. I didn't see any of the pit lane action, so that night I watched the vision and quite enjoyed the race myself.
What did you look like on track, mate? You were good lines, looking good?
Well, yeah, I didn't even actually look at that. There was that much action in pit lane. I'm going to have to watch it again to pump my own tyres up a little bit. But it's funny, Todd was actually running second with 7 laps to go, and I was, I think, 11 seconds in front of him. And then the safety car came out for a little bit of debris, which sometimes people call competition safety cars or cautions, because it was a little bit spread out at that point. And my fresh engineer at that point forgot me to tell me on the radio that there was a green flag after the safety car, or the safety car's in pit lane, and it's not until that point that you can actually accelerate off. So he forgot to tell me, and I was on the main straight idling along going, mate, can I go? And actually stitched my brother up because the land is all over him, and I basically went idling up the front straight, and Todd ended up getting past. So I was a little bit disappointed that I didn't get into the throttle a bit earlier, so it was a bit of a bummer.
I saw that on TV, and I thought it was a tactic, because I looked down on the TV, and there were cars spread all over the track. There was cars running into each other, waiting for you to go, and I thought, typical Rico playing his games again.
Yeah. I didn't have a
Stitching
chance.
everyone up.
Now, PD mentioned that he had a great start on the Friday. Qualifying was going pretty well. Your qualifying wasn't all that great in the first day, was it?
No, with a brand new car, the guys spent night and day putting it together, and we did have a few teething problems on the Friday where a few things weren't as we expected, and it put us a little bit behind the 8 ball. But I mean, if that's the only thing that went wrong on the weekend for us with such a tight turnaround from the Grand Prix to Hamilton, then I think we're quite lucky. And as you saw, it probably didn't affect the weekend too bad. We still managed to get some great results, but it's always good to still have areas that we can improve on as a team. And the event as a whole over there, I think, was fantastic. The rain probably stopped people coming along on the Saturday just a little bit, but all in all, I think still New Zealand for us is very strong. The crowd support over there certainly feels like we're racing back home in Australia, with everyone turning up and wanting to see the drivers and enjoying the race meeting. So it went from a category perspective, I think, reasonably well, and I heard the ratings, Petty, was probably pretty good as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think we can't put it past how important it was for Shane Van Gisbergen to win the race on Sunday. Murph has been the hero over in New Zealand for years and years, and he's probably lost that perch a little bit. There's probably a few people who had Jason Richards, egging him along there. He also he's got Shane as well, and a few of the other Kiwis. So it's phenomenal for him to go there. He won the race. We actually joked about it on last week's show. It was pretty ballsy to come out and say, I want to win New Zealand. He hadn't won a race yet. Yeah. And he's gone and done it, and he did it in good style as well.
Yeah, and I think that he's going to be a tough one to beat in the future as well. He said as well when he passed me for the lead, he made a few mistakes and was a little bit nervous. And unfortunately, he's done that now. And when he's in front next time, he's not going to be nervous, and he's going to be very, very difficult to beat. But it is very fitting to see a New Zealander win over there, particularly for his first win. It's such a great story. And to see him after he won, stopping and doing donuts everywhere. I know that's probably against the rules, but it makes such great TV. He's a very animated character on the radio in the race meeting and afterwards when he's so excited about a win. So really, really good story. Really good to see.
Before we let you go, before we get into the ad break, Rick, though, we've got to just bring up, you're just hanging with Benji and Joel Madden here over the weekend at Good Charlotte.
Yeah, what a great...
Wins one race and now he's a superstar.
Well, I actually assumed, PD, when we found out earlier this week that he might have just rocked up into the Croc Media studio here at V8 Nation with the full arm sleeve tattoo.
It's funny you mentioned the Good Charlotte guys. They are such a down-to-earth couple of guys.
Yep.
Like you really wouldn't believe that they are such a big band and such a famous couple of dudes just by talking to them. They're so down to earth. They're so good to their fans and people around them. And we were lucky enough actually on the weekend to go and see their concert at the race meeting on the Sunday night and to stand up on stage just behind the curtain and actually watch them. And it was really, really impressive.
PD, he's being very modest, isn't he? Because he was telling us how he got called onto the stage. He hasn't mentioned that yet.
Yeah, no, he was standing at the back of the stage, and the two brothers called him onto the stage in front of the screaming girls. And obviously knowing Rick quite well, I certainly know that the music would certainly be right down his alley. And so, mate, what's their favourite song? What's their biggest song?
I think this segment's about to end.
Here we go. Well, you know what? We might need to get you a CD or something, Rick, just so you know.
There's a song called Like It's Her Birthday. They sang that when we turned up. I won't go into the rest because we probably haven't got time.
Yeah.
But I got to remember not to tell you guys what's been happening before we start the show. It's got to always be after the show so it doesn't get brought up.
V8nation at crocmedia.com if you'd like to get involved. Make sure you do follow us on Twitter.
This is V8 Nation with Rick Kelly and Paul Dumbrell.